Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network. Oh, welcome back, everybody. Holidays are upon us. I can't even fathom how in 3 weeks-ish, it'll be New Year's.
That's right. That's right.
Like, I tap the brakes, people. However, it is here, and the holidays, for some, it's a great thing. For others, maybe not so comfortable. And we're going to look at that today and how you navigate through the holidays in all different levels. So much going on there with plans, with people, family, friends, and all of that. She is a professional certified coach, works with all different individuals, and that could be working with an attorney, C-level suite individual, could be just somebody who owns a business. So could be somebody who's just looking to up their game professionally and even personally. And we're going to tackle the personal side today. Margaret Enloe joins us on the program. How are you doing?
I'm well, Steve. I'm here in my living room, and I'm feeling good. Feeling good. Yeah.
I am almost in denial and disbelief that the holidays are coming up that fast.
I know. A lot of people are.
And, there's the anticipation of what to do, the plans, and not a wonderful time for some. And I have to believe that most of us, the majority of us, probably have one little thing floating out there in our mind that challenges us, big and small, about the holidays. I don't think anybody's immune from that because, you're going to be meeting with family. There might be that one person that just gets under your skin and, how to deal with them this year. How's that going to go? Could be parties or things that you're invited to that you feel obligated to go to. You really don't want to. I don't even know where to begin. There's so many different aspects of this. What about, let's look at this. Somebody that's not anticipating the holidays in a positive way because of maybe a life change. How about we start there?
Okay, sure.
So let's say it's somebody that, maybe got divorced or things changed in their situation. Now it looks differently for them, and they know that they're going to be uncomfortable. Go hypothetical with that. What would be your thoughts, your advice to somebody, looking at the holidays not being the same as they used to be?
It's you're right, Steve, that lots of people everywhere deal with this issue of the holidays in one way or the other. And the example you brought up of somebody who, let's say, has lost a job or maybe lost a loved one during the holidays or around Thanksgiving, they come into this time period with a different attitude or difficulty than many other people. Though it's interesting, a lot of it, I think, has to do with our natural our personalities, what brings us joy. And interestingly, I was just speaking to a client. As you said, I'm a coach working with a lot of professionals, and any number of those are people who have lost a job and they're looking or maybe seeking to change a career. And I have worked with people who have lost a job and the world is coming to an end, and also people that have lost a job at this time of the year, the holidays, and they're still feeling upbeat, positively oriented toward what's going to come down. So if somebody who's lost a job, they are dying at this point to try to get it locked in before the end of the year, if they can. But they will approach the holidays, those two groups of those people, they will approach the holidays quite differently. Will be more like, well, it's the holidays, it's a happy time of the year, and I just got to make the best of it. And others, doom and gloom. It's always doom and gloom, though. So this is just more add-on to the doom and gloom.
Yeah, and I've been in that situation where I'm not going to say I wasn't expecting a job change, but the owner of the company told me that he would always let me know ahead of time. It was late November where Saturday morning, 6 a.m., I checked my email and what's this? So It was doom and gloom. Like, what am I going to do? What are you going to do here? Got small children, bills, and all of that. But looking back on all of this, why did I even worry? Why? It's not going to get you anywhere. Most of us, have ways to get by for a little while when we figure it all out. It doesn't,
Figure out.
it's not going to get you anywhere from the worry about it.
But a lot of times, and Steve, I can understand how you reacted that way because there's this unknown,
Yeah.
the anticipation of what's going to happen. And for many, many people, dealing with the unknown is much harder than having something. Let's say you break a leg. Well, you knew you broke a leg, and you have to go get it fixed. But if you lose a job, it's like, well, what's going to happen next? And even in the career world, what they found is that people who have more control over their schedule, they know they can plan a party. They know they can go to a play. They know they can have dinner with their mother or their friends on a certain night. It makes them much more just fully functional at their job because they know they can count on something.
Yeah.
And in many people's jobs, high-paying professional jobs, they might make a plan and they get asked to do something and the client comes first and they have to cancel that plan. And so they don't know if they'll be able to continue with their plans. And that can make life stressful, and around the holidays even more so because there are just that many more things that are scheduled than usual. And that's a lot of what causes some people anxiety or stress around the holidays is there are lots of things like certain expectations of them, office parties perhaps, children's plays to go to, presents to buy, shopping, wrapping gifts.
Yeah.
A lot of things.
Like, how am I going to do this all?
How am I going to?
Mom always said, and I regret, not listening to everything she said, when she passed those comments, it'll all work out.
Oh, did she say that?
Yeah, it'll all work out. And it all does work out. And I guess it goes back to, we've talked about this in the past, fear. So, job loss during the holidays, fear. First thing that comes into mind. Stop worrying, people. I know it's easier said than done. I used to worry about everything and I let it go. I'll be transparent. I had a situation medical test I took recently and it could be this. And they said the treatment for it will be that. And I'm like, 5 years ago and before, I'd be like, oh my gosh, I got to do. I was like, I'm going to get that treatment. Yeah, no problem. It is what it is, whatever. And honestly, I went today and what I thought was going to be, they said, no, it's not even that.
Oh, that's great.
So I'm so glad I didn't worry.
You didn't stress. But you've come a long way because you've had a lot of experience stressing out and being fearful of things. And now you're, one might say, older, you've experienced that in a big way. And now you can talk to yourself in a different way to get through it.
Yes. Yes.
A lot of people can't do that very well.
I know. And I don't take anything away from any struggles that people have or any judgment, but I understand it because I dealt with it. And the other thing I feel we should mention, if you're looking at the holidays through a life change and you're having even fear, how am I going to deal with that? And all that those emotions that come into play, it's just another day. It's just another day. So many of us put this heaviness on this one particular day. Don't look at it that way. Look at it as it's another day. The day will start, the day will end, and you'll do your thing during the day. But if you get so caught up in your head of the way it was, the way it should be, I should be doing this, but I'm not. It's just another day.
In that regard, what can help people is if they prioritize, let's say we're talking about the holidays, all of the things that could be done or that they would like to do, but prioritize particularly if you're feeling anxious and stressed about it. You can't do everything. Maybe a child's play is going to be much higher on that list than buying all the gifts for nieces and nephews that you have. Finding time to have a nice family meal with your loved ones is probably going to be more important than making sure you have the best wrapping paper and bows and that it looks really good. So prioritizing things can very much, I think, be helpful at this time of year, as opposed to your point, thinking, oh, I've got everything going on. Try to live it a day at a time, and that does make it easier. But
How about those situations where you're anticipating going to an event, a celebration, and there's just somebody going to be there that you've had dealings with? Suggestions on that?
That's, I think it's wonderful to think about it ahead of time and recognize the triggers and maybe talk to yourself a little bit and say, hey, what could I do? Maybe some deep breathing before going into the room where and is going to be, and having something pleasant to say to that person, not feeling you have to be engaged in a long conversation. But 3 deep breaths, Steve, can be very helpful to just kind of relax our bodies.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And
it's like I call it the reset button.
The reset button, yeah.
The reset button, take the breaths, let them out, walk in. And to your point, Margaret, you don't have to engage with them. You might not agree with what they're talking about. Who says you have to talk with them? And if they still get at you, walk out of the room.
Yeah. Out of the room. Yes, if you need to. I am fortunate. I've never had that experience, but I know people who have.
Sure.
It's very common. So it's, again, an upfront recognition that this could happen. It's not the end of the world if you meet Aunt Belle and she says something kind of on the nasty side.
Mm-hmm.
Recognize perhaps that Aunt Belle is struggling herself with some issues, and that's unfortunately how she expresses herself. And then, as you say, maybe walk away a little more quickly with some excuse that is appropriate. So,
well, look, back to mom. Always said, take the high road. Just take the high road. So that person is engaging in political talk. A lot of times that comes up. Maybe that doesn't align with you, and you're just not feeling it. I think it's perfectly acceptable to say it's an interesting viewpoint. Turn around and walk out of the room. It doesn't mean you agree.
Yeah, it's an interesting viewpoint as opposed to trying to fight back against what they say.
Right.
Or say, tell me more. if you care to hear a little bit more, right? There's an opposite back.
I want to make it, the quick goodbye. Just
quick
move
goodbye.
on. You don't owe them anything. You don't have to hear what they have to say. And you don't have to agree. Just move on. Just move on from it. I know it's triggering. I get it. Sometimes you just want to, and then, a couple of glasses of wine involved in either side, and then that, escalates things for sure.
So I was thinking a little bit about what causes stress because of the holidays. And one thing, Steve, is that there's big expectations about this is meant to be a jolly, fun time for everybody. And yet it's not a happy time for a lot of people. As I said, maybe they lost a loved one. They're just more anxious about being in large crowds. And money is an issue for people, of course.
Sure.
Buying presents. And so, there are ways of dealing with this. If maybe you have a lonely life and it's a time when everybody seems to be jolly and merry, and we're looking at things on the social media about everybody else having a good time and a smile on their face. But people really don't react all that. Many people don't have that sense of joy in their minds. But let's say if you're a lonely person, you can volunteer for something to help someone else, or maybe call a long lost relative or friend, and reaching out just to one person, maybe spread a little joy yourself. Or if money is an issue, then it's good to keep track of the money you're spending, so that from January 15, you get the credit card, you're not surprised.
Right.
And you can setting boundaries is one of the things, Steve, that I talk a lot about with my clients. And boundaries come in all sorts of forms. Well, one of the big important boundaries is whom do I want to get gifts for? And how much do I want to spend? How much can I spend? And then keeping track. So again, money issues come into play, and that sort of fights against expectations that, well, of course you're going to give a gift to so-and-so. Well, maybe this year you don't give a gift to so-and-so, and it's okay. It's okay.
Just out today, they say the average person will spend $2,000 this year on gifts. And really, to your point, if you take time and get creative, you can spend a lot less, and it means even more.
Yeah.
It takes
That
intention. It takes effort. It takes a little creativity too.
takes effort. And for example, I love to give as a gift the granola that I make. And most
Ooh.
people like homemade granola. They like granola and they like homemade granola even better. So I just kind of have a lot of fun putting together a big batch of that and
What a great
giving it
idea! I got to tell you, Margaret, great.
as a
And
food for
and
cooking.
I'm
Yeah.
a granola lover. I'll buy container like that big. Lasts quite a while. I sometimes I'll put a spoon in just for a treat. But I take it and I sprinkle it on salads. I put it on yogurt. It has and there's so many different types of granola.
Yeah. Right.
Wow.
So yeah, that's one thing I do to I do that because I enjoy it. I know people enjoy receiving it. You could send me your address and I'll send you a little my granola, Steve.
All right. What's the secret recipe? Is there anything that you put in there that
No,
no?
I got no secrets.
Okay.
No, it's
All
the
right.
recipe I've been using forever, and it changes from one time to the next a little bit. So I don't stress over accurately measuring everything, but I know I'm putting in good stuff.
Yeah, well, that's the other point. You never know what's in a lot of this stuff, and it's. I know we we digressed a second, but so many times when I pick up the package and I look at the label and I'm excited, this is really good. Contains
Oh,
bioengineered ingredients. I'm like, oh, really great.
yeah, right, exactly.
Yeah,
Do you know anybody, Steve, that is affected by SAD? I think it's called seasonal affective disorder.
disorder. Yeah, yeah. My friend Dave down in Florida. Yeah, I grew up with him here in New York. Yeah.
Is that one reason he moved to Florida?
One of them, yeah, just he had some changes, but that was one that he was looking forward to, and he's been there for decades. But he definitely, he's affected by it. Yeah, for sure. It's a challenge. It really is.
And I was, my son has had that. He lives in Switzerland, and there's a lot of darkness around this time
Ooh,
of year, more so than even in New York, which is where I live. And one of the things that he's done, and I think it's helpful for others, is you get lights that just create more light in your
yep,
home.
yep,
Vitamin D is apparently very effective because you're not getting as much sun. But
yes.
then,
You know
like,
what? Can I just jump in? What that one thing? I know we've digressed here, but it's coming up for a reason, I believe. Vitamin D. Last year, took a lab test, and they said I was deficient of vitamin D, the lowest level they have ever seen.
oh, really?
Yes. So yeah, I got a supplement. You took it once a week. It's all good. And many of us don't realize that you can have, if you don't have enough vitamin D, brain fog. You feel cranky. I didn't have a lot of that, but it's a big deal. And of
Exactly.
course, the sun. But then you got to watch out for skin cancer. But vitamin D helps you absorb other vitamins and minerals. So if you're deficient, you're really, you're not getting what you need. It's not just about the vitamin D.
Exactly. And so, but vitamin D is, yeah, very important.
Sure,
And then
sure.
uh, the lights, but other things that are helpful for SAD or SAD. Sometimes they call it winter depression,
Hmm.
but is exercise and getting outdoors. And how many times have we heard, hey, exercise is a good thing? We know exercise tends to lift the mood.
Yep.
So if you're somebody struggling with the holidays, you might be a little bit more inclined to stay indoors to try to avoid people. And interestingly, for treating SAD, one of the things is try to have some social activities because you're more inclined to stay at home and alone and because you're not feeling so happy, but it's important to socialize. But exercise and getting enough sleep
Mm.
is two very important things for that, as well as so many other things. So people who are more depressed around the holidays, they say, get outside, get some exercise, and because exercise, as we know, good sleep helps raise our mood. So maybe it's because I
Hmm.
do a lot of exercise that I'm usually in a good mood. I don't know.
Oh, there's something to it because it releases certain types of chemicals,
Good.
it's interesting that we did pivot in a different area here, talking about the holidays and what comes along with that, but the things that we're talking about, even on a coaching level, are so important. Sleep, nutrition, seasonal disorders. That's another part of it. Vitamins, all of that. What about your holiday schedule? Now, you've got a lot of things going on. You've got different places to go see family members. A lot of families are blended, so that just adds another layer of challenge.
Yeah.
How do you make the cut? How do you decide who I'm going to hang out with and who I'm not? This person wants, yeah, they invited me, but then this one did. And then, well, I don't really want to go to that, but I feel now obligated.
Obligated. Yep.
How do we
Right.
get over that?
There may not be any sure way to get over that, Steve, but I think it gets back to this idea of prioritizing. And if you're invited, for example, to a party you really don't want to go to, or some event, if that's not high on your priority list, and in fact, you're really wishing you didn't get invited, then maybe say, okay, what's a fair and reasonable reason why I'm not going to go to that? It can be, I'm just not up to it. I'm sorry. I mean, there are ways of making excuses that are more acceptable than others. And I think if it's something you really don't want to do, it's better to, again, if it's not something you should do. Let's say you should go to an office party because it'll look really weird if you're not there. You're not so keen on going for a variety of reasons, but you should be there. Well, then it's a question of balancing things. But if you're going to be super miserable going to that office party, well, maybe you just don't go and you say, I had to get something done and I just could not work it into my schedule.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry I missed it, or something like that, and
Comes down to boundaries. What we talked about before comes down to boundaries. And even that office party, many of the times you kind of have to go, usually, but that doesn't mean you have to stay the entire time. And those other invites that you get, as I get older, I'm a believer in, you really need to do what you want to do. People are tugging at you. If you don't want to, then don't. I'm sorry. It's not.
It makes you happy, right?
Yes. You're responsible for somebody else's happiness of showing up at something that you're not really into. I think there's the difference between the need to and should over here, the job situation, the holiday office party. It's a little bit different.
Yes.
This one, you got some friends over here inviting you. You got a busy schedule. You're really not even that super close to them. Then don't go. It's okay. I think it's okay.
It is okay. It's often, how do you finesse an RSVP? I'm sorry, I can't be there. How do you do that? There are nice ways of pretty much declining an invitation that may not come so naturally to everybody, but there are ways we can decline invitations. And then there's, of course, the opposite, where you want to be included in something and somebody hasn't invited you. And you don't even know if they're having a party. They had a party last year, but you're not invited this year. And how do I handle that? And you can't really call up and say, hey, are you going to invite me? Are you even having a party? You can't do that.
No.
But you can just say, hey, what's something else I might like to do? Maybe they're not having a party. Talk to another good friend. I think it's often very helpful to people to assume good intentions and not, writing them off. Oh, they didn't invite, something negative, automatically negative coming to mind, and letting that overpower you and you lose energy and you increase your anxiety by doing that.
One final thought that popped in my head with the party you're invited to, but you really don't want to go to that party, but you do anyway. And I think a lot of it comes from you wanting to show value to that person, where most of us feel that we're not good enough. So, I don't want them to think I don't like them because I really don't want to go, but I should go because I want them to know that I'm there, because I want them to be there for me. It just turns into you overthink it, but it goes back to feeling that, your worth isn't, you want to have worth by going because they invited you.
Yes. Yeah. So there are lots of factors that come into play here, Steve. And, it's there's no one answer for everybody. It might be meaningful to the husband for the wife to join him at a party. The wife doesn't want to go. Should the wife go? Well, maybe yes, maybe no. There's not one answer to that. But I'll just say this: often things can be improved if there's communication. between, let's say, among friends, among spouses about what is going on. And if a spouse or loved one seems down, depressed, unhappy, as opposed to say, oh, what's wrong with them? Maybe good to sit down and say, hey, what's going on? What can I do to help? Maybe is there too much going on here? Can we somehow simplify things this year? So I think that's another piece of wisdom I might pass on or share.
I find it fascinating how we started talking about the challenges of the holidays, but a lot of the things we talked about here today are universal for life in general.
Yes, that's so true. And they get magnified at this time of year. That's what happens.
Great point.
Great point.
Right. Margaret, best way if somebody wants to figure this all out, maybe move their lives forward in terms of their career, personally, all of that, with some coaching from somebody that's got experience. And we didn't even go into your long history, working in the legal field and all of that. Is it as easy as just going to your website?
I think that probably is. People can connect on margaretenloe.com, and I'm on LinkedIn as well. And that's a great way to, if people want to reach out to me, be happy to speak to anybody, but LinkedIn or my website, margaretenloe.com.
Or if you want some granola, that's the best way to do it.
Well, from granola, you got to email me your address, Steve.
By the way, the last name, Enloe, margaretenloe.com. Margaret, great talking with you today. So relevant, and looking forward next time we get together.
Perfect. Thanks, Steve.
Thank you.
Happy holidays.
You too. We'll be right back.
Right, bye-bye.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
They'll challenge your authority. They'll try to break your will. They'll push you to the edge of your sanity. Because that's what kids do. But this car is your territory, not theirs. Defend it. Who makes the payments? Who cleans it? Who drives it? You do. That's who. And in here, your word is law. So when you say you won't move until everyone's buckled up, you won't budge an inch. Until you hear that click. Never give up until they buckle up. A message from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council. For more information, visit safercar.gov/kidsbuckleup.